Ra le dumedisa kaofela and welcome to Rise. Sex is one of the strongest symbols of power in society. For some, sex can be a way of taking or giving away power, depending on how we bargain with it. Society obsesses over what women do with our bodies and with whom we do it. But are women exercising our right to have a meaningful stake in the bedroom, or in the kitchen for that matter? Today, we're talking about the power of sex. Good evening, ladies. Mantombazane. Rebuaka transactional sex, to be specific. How do we feel about it? Because I want to talk about what is at the root of it. We have a society where there's a huge amount of expectation. So, and it's called the oldest profession in the world, right? The idea of transactional sex. How is it that we come to a place where women or men, for that matter, want to engage in sexual relations purely for the sake of material or financial gain?
Let's look at it with women. Every woman wants to be treated nicely. We all want lovely things. We all want to be bought stuff. We all want to be taken to holidays. We all want that. And unfortunately, as a young, well, I hope we all want that, Kgomotso. Don't you like nice things?
I like nice things, but I can take myself on holiday.
Exactly, you can. Yeah. But there's those who can't, right? And with younger women, when you're dating someone your own age, normally they can't provide that. But then here's an older man saying, listen, I can buy you the world. Anything you want, I can provide. Yeah. And transactional sex allows us to have that.
Yeah, Mara, when we grew up, society would frown upon it. So I think it has become acceptable.
Besides the intensity of the advertising and all that.
So really, you know, comes from patriarchy. And that has been there for a long time. But the whole act to specifically fella for and before society used to frown upon it. Right now, it is not being frowned upon.
Not only is it accepted, but it's encouraged as well. Nix. Now I can this. And then when you start feeling the pressure,
and we all accept. Patriarchy, unfortunately, for both men and women, has taught us how provider. So no matter how lovely and young banyana, but I think for me what has happened is that post-democracy, there's also new money. You know, and new experimentation. And a freedom, I can have sex hanging on a chandelier, but musadiaka, asiano kito hangisa ngadi chandelier. That is the issue.
Mara, what about Basadi Balong Hore? They exercise good sexual health, and for them it's a thing of ultra, I'm safe, but I will do this to get what I want. This is my means to an end. You know, this is an alternative. You know, there's no other option. I mean,
there's no other option.
What other option?
Well, yes. What is,
I mean, has that option been thrown out of the window?
If you've lost your job, if you've been fired, if you support yourself.
Entrepreneurship. Can't you make something?
Yeah, but then
Nyiko,
that's fine. But what if you don't have the capital to make something? What if
but there's always a way. Look,
and then you make something and then
like
you stop that sort of interaction? Okay,
cool. It's simple things. You don't always, providing a service, you have to use your creative mind, just like you using your creative mind. Like, for example, you can sell certain things in order to get money. You can work at certain places to get money.
Kanye, you are right.
Why do we always run to men?
The reality of the situation is that even worldly entrepreneurship and stuff like that is not as easy as you make it to be. But this is my issue. This is my issue. If we want to say our democracy was worth it and people died for it, Mandela free. Do you understand what I'm saying? You know, we did not get freedom because people slept with people. I am saying it is true. I mean, you need to see the absurdity in it. If we are saying for young women to advance in life, they are going to need help. Why are we not able to go to our communities? I mean, this freedom Really citizen,
right.
If I have advanced Kgomotso, why must I be sleeping with young boys? A younger boy who is from a less fortunate community to succeed.
Especially because they're needy. Exactly.
Exactly.
Why can't you give them money without having to have the sexual thing in mind? And it makes us wonder, because a lot of them are our age.
No, absolutely.
Some of them are our friends, some of them are related.
Some of them are in influential positions that give them the opportunity to make a difference, but that opportunity to make a difference, they are using it to get sex with young women. That is the sad
thing.
And that's because that's primarily their interest. That's why they engage It's primarily their interest. After the break, we'll be joined by lawyer, blogger, and businessman Mike Maphoto. Don't go away. The blog Diary of a Zulu Girl was a topic on everyone's lips for months, tracking the sexual exploits of a young Zulu girl who comes to Jozi. It has 72 million hits today. Mike Maphoto, the creator of this blog. He's joined by Lebo and Kgomotso on the couch. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Nyiko. Mike, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So how did this come about? I mean, 72 million hits on a blog is nothing short of phenomenal. So first of all, congratulations for that.
Thank you very much.
But what kind of a man wants to write a blog about a Zulu girl, a petty man that matter, a Zulu girl at Lanko Joburg to come in and her sexual exploits?
No, ironically, the blog started off as a prank on a friend. I had a friend who had this thing of saying he knows everybody. So I tricked him. I wrote about a character, a fictional character, and then he said he knew the girl, you know. But then from what I learned, like later on, I discovered that no, why he knew the girl is that so many girls are that girl. The reason why the blog got so big is because it's a universal story. It doesn't matter where you go. We have this. If you go to America, a girl from Ohio, when she goes to New York, it's a big city. There are lights, there's money, there are clubs. And then from Ohio, there's nothing. And this is a white girl from America. So now imagine South Africa where automatically there's no money. You walk into Sandton, for example. I'm from Polokwane. It's not a tiny town, but when I walk into Sandton, I get confused. I want to cry. I want to touch things which I can't afford. And then you see these people nowadays, this Instagram, for example. I think right now the biggest devil in this country in social media is Instagram, because it shows you a lifestyle. Facebook didn't do that. Facebook made you interact.
What do you do when you read so many stories of such vulnerability in a country like ours?
You know, it's actually quite sad. It's very saddening. I had a 16-year-old girl, and at the time of 14, she had slept with 6 different men. And she was saying that, look, at home, there's no food. At home, there's nothing I can do to help my family. My mom is a domestic worker, and even then, her employers don't treat her well, don't pay her well, or they pay her when they want to pay her.
Oh, man.
And then she asked me, but what am I supposed to do, right? And at the beginning, I used to take money out of my own pocket and say, no, here's something, go do that. But then I ended up having so many people, I couldn't afford it. As a blogger with a big audience, I have to be responsible. I have to be almost like a father figure where I help my readers. They come, they're looking for jobs, I put it up. So I'm in that position now where I have to be a responsible citizen.
Right.
But I'm also quite young myself. Because I also go out, I go clubbing, and I see these things for myself. I have girls who approach me and say, because now you're in the media, you've got money.
Of course.
You've got influence, right? If we do 1, 2, 3, can you hook me up?
Do men who do this and who partake in a lot of transactional sex also write to you? Because we were sitting here earlier trying to figure out why, and why the huge age discrepancy, and why is it such a fashion now for older men to only want to sleep, or not only, but you know, to sleep with young women.
I spoke to a professor from Wits. He also wrote into me, right? And he said to me that I'm taking this viewpoint all wrong.
Okay.
I am blaming the men. I am saying the man is the one who's going to UJ, for example, to pick up the girls. Then, that was about a year ago. I'm talking to a girl right now. She's 16 or 17, and she was saying to me that as soon as she graduates, she wants to go to Joburg because she'll get a rich man, and like the parents are both teachers. So she's middle class. She's she eats. She's
so
she's not hungry. She's not suffering. She's not whatever. And when you look again, I go back to Instagram. The girls who are on holidays. It's shocking. They're on expensive holidays. They come from wealthy families.
True.
And I always say this to my people, like, look, when you look at the pictures, look for the girl who has got a picture by herself. She's never with anyone in the pictures, just her. Because the sugar part will never be in the picture. You get in trouble.
The sugar one.
She's the one in the picture.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it
that's how you identify.
Me, though. and I disagree with the professor because you trace it from patriarchy. In a sense that we have put up men as they will provide and they will do this. And I don't see these young women doing anything differently. Perhaps it is the transactional nature and also the fact that material and the brands and the social media has been so much in our face. So I ask myself, how far have we gone in flipping the gender, stereotypes for women to actually believe that you can actually do these things yourself?
It seems like we've slid back, but I want to read something, an excerpt from your blog, Mike, and it was written by Tandeka. He was already touching me even as he was unzipping his pants. This old man was touching me, and I was feeling uncomfortable. Jack is one of those dignified CEO types of guys. He seems to do everything in a chilled manner, but today he was different. This man clearly had not been laid in a long time. I told him to calm down. I told him that he was going to tear off my uniform if he continued at this pace. Like a boy, he apologized as he tried to compose himself. I realized that at this moment I had so much power over him. Yes, he was all powerful wherever he worked, but at this moment, in this toilet, I was the queen. In moments, he came, sending a streak of condensed milk flying through the air, landing on the toilet stall. I took a tissue and wiped it off as he tried to breathe slower and compose himself. I don't know why I said it, but I did. Some words just come out of your mouth when you least expect it. I told him I was going to give him my bank account number for making me do this in the toilet. I think it was meant to come out as a joke, as I don't know. Or maybe I thought out loudly. He froze where he stood and calmly said, "Airtime for now, my dear."
Look, our society is evolving. Everything is evolving every day.
True.
Nowadays, most girls, especially if you come to the big cities, they believe they're on an equal par with an old man. If I'm 22 and I work for government, my boss is 45, I'll call him Peter because that's what we call him at work. Automatically, you've removed that fear factor.
Yeah,
exactly. He's become maybe not a friend, but somebody you can talk to.
Yeah.
Right? So that respect thing has gone. So patriarchy is now a concept which, unfortunately, the older people are holding on to. Automatically, our kids are getting more and more intelligent. They know more.
Well, I think they do, but they don't have the necessary life skills.
Exactly.
Because I think for me, I read this, and some other people, even before I met you, sent me some of your diary of a Zulu girl, and I've also interacted with other young women. What shocks me is the fact that the confidence on the outside looks like they know more. But the life skills, you say patriarchy has evolved. Even when we were recruiting young women for this show, and we were talking about male roles and female roles, and I made a comment, I don't cook, people were saying, but what kind of a wife will you be? A woman's role is to cook. So in a lot of ways, things have changed, but in a lot of ways, they have not changed. But also the change for young women, for me, is over-sexualized. I mean, right now, you spoke about Instagram. Because somebody said a big bum, and I've always had it, is a good thing. Everybody so on Instagram, and I'm like, but my
break the internet.
For 43 years has been big. What has just happened? Do you understand? So it is also those images that people say, but I don't see them very different from the way that they have been sexualized to the 1800s.
Okay, but now what are you saying, Lebo, and what are you also saying, Mike? First, I wanted to know, what is your intention with this site? Because it could be just seen as like, almost like voyeuristic and a little soft pornish in terms of figures. And does that help us in finding the solutions? I want to know about your intentions, because I'm really wanting to know. So how do we turn this thing around?
Yeah.
I've been trying to educate. What I do is that, I think you asked me earlier on, how do I get the storyline? All the storylines are true. I ask people their own experiences. I've never written something which I thought of on my own.
Okay.
Right, so automatically people are sharing what they are doing. So what I do, at the end of every chapter, I post a letter from one of the readers in a situation. They then advise each other. I mean,
but that's okay. You know, I'm not going to let the men go, okay? I ask myself what kind of a society it is, even for the woman who doesn't have a choice. And one of the questions as a man and a black man is to say, can't you just have a club of them rather than sleeping with the girls, just donating the money for free?
Changing minds takes a long time.
I agree with you.
Changing minds takes a long time. And first, we have to identify the problem. After we identify the problem, we have to put the problem makers to task. I think the biggest part to start, there's a miseducation in South Africa. This thing of saying men, men, men. You know, you can't tackle a situation by blaming one side. There are two sides. Both
so we must
sides
blame the
must be
teenagers
confronted.
as well.
No,
blame children.
remember, with adults, we are blaming the men, but at school, we are teaching the kids. We are not teaching the men. So we need somehow to get to the men and say, men, this is what you are causing. This is what you are doing.
Thank you, Mike. We hope people will take a look at some of the stuff in your blog, Diary of a Zulu Girl. And we hope Diary of a Zulu Boy is also coming sometime soon. We'll be back after this little break. Ra la mogela gape ka jeno mo Rise mo re tshwereng kgang e thata nna ke bona ile thata maybe for lona easy maar nna for nna e thata taba ya transactional sex because gona le di power dynamics tse di involved gona le under ageism involved and gona le mathata. You had a particular issue to tackle ka kganyene Mike a bua ka yona particularly ka bana ka dijara.
You know, Kgomotso, we wouldn't be talking about this if young people were not getting infected between 15 and 24.
Yeah.
And I think as a country, to get young people infected when they are beginning to start their careers and could be meaningfully employed and contributing to society should worry us. We shouldn't be losing 15 to 24-year-olds to HIV. I think even at an individual level, ha o le ntate, o robala le queen e o e fang tšhelete ka mo toilet. Ask yourself about your own daughter, your own sister. And I think for me, it demonstrates a failure at two levels. Demonstrate a failure ya gore we don't understand freedom as also having civic responsibility for those that are perhaps in much more vulnerable relationships. In fact, we are acting as predators. But the other issue is that it is also putting a spotlight on issue ya borre or ya fatherhood. Why understand? Because while many young women are doing it for money, they are also looking up to this man as a father figure. Because most of our young girls are growing up without their own fathers. Rather than and start a fund. You know, if you wanted to go and study anywhere, it's very difficult to find high net worth black people in particular. They've started a fund. Why renale chelete ya go bafa ga re fetsa go robala le bone mara re sena chelete of empowering ourselves. Hari free ka mo as adults. Hari free ka mo.
And also there's low hanging fruit and I think men have gotten also to a point where they compete over how young or how, you know, the young person with whom they're engaging is. So it's a sick part of our society that is absolutely sinful and must change. Sinful in the sense of being really corrupt. And I would have to completely agree with you there, Lebo.
But you know what I heard from the interview, Mike, is that how social media is having an effect on the behavior of young women.
Yeah.
your Instagram. I really like the thing that you said about Instagram.
Yeah.
Branding and promoting branding really just sort of triggers your desire for a fancy life or for access to parties, traveling and whatever.
Yeah.
And then the women then in turn offer themselves to these men, you know, in the hope of getting access to this. So yes, men are responsible for this to a certain extent, or largely responsible for it actually. But there's also that thing more banyaning, you know, where we're responsible for our own decisions and and I'm willing to do this. So what happens then?
As sad as it might be to hear for you two, or for every woman out there, we're not always victims as young people. I can hold on, because sometimes we make a conscious decision. Monna ke yo o la le tšhelete ka itse nka ke ra tšhelete yana if ke berekisa kuku yaka.
Yaka renzi fa le Kgomotso, we did not get in here by not making mistakes. I do believe gore ga o le motho o montšha, when you are a young person, you will make mistakes. You'll think you are invisible. You'll think you are more beautiful than any other girl. You'll think gore o monate go feta batho ba bangwe ba botlhe. That is what youth is about. I don't want it to land you with HIV though.
And we make decisions.
I want adults to understand that. Just because you are stupid and you think you are the most beautiful, it has happened. Hali youth yantla. Lerona ne resi youth yantla.
Exactly.
And ebile hali youth ya bofelo. But I wouldn't want us to lose you to HIV just because you are making stupid mistakes. Go na le bana ba ileng gore yena una le gene. Mara o batla ena leng lebitso. So it's not only gore o tshore ke tlala. Mara be go nna le ngwana o tshoreng ke tlala o ileng gore o tla rekisa di sweets ka 50 cent. Gore a fela a khone gore a ireng, or o tla volunteer ko kerekeng or whatever. So we cannot always say ga gona choice, therefore the only choice ke gore bala le banna ba bagolo.
No, we Leo. Anybody want to argue with that logic? None of that. Anyway, thank you so much to our guest, Mike Maphoto, for joining us. And also thank you to the young women from the Rise Young Women's Club who were joining us in studio today. Remember to continue this conversation and to share all your thoughts with us on all the conversations that we're having on Twitter, Mxit, and Facebook. Thank you very much, and see you next week. No, this one will...
Woof, woof.